Well, it's raining outside. Kids are awake, of course. It's in the afternoon. Got the laundry running, and my computer room is actually slash the laundry room. So I come to the bedroom to do a little couple, 2 or 3 videos. And one of these is a couple of things. I think I'm gonna just do these short videos. Believe it or not, this will actually be short. First time in history. Obama says he cannot guarantee Social Security checks will go out on August 3rd. In other words, if we don't come to some raising the debt ceiling agreement. President Obama on Tuesday said he cannot guarantee that retirees will receive their Social Security checks August 3rd if Democrats and Republicans in Washington do not reach an agreement on reducing the deficit in the coming weeks and, of course, raising the debt ceiling. So, I mean, that's basically it. I can stop there. There's no need to read the last few sentences. As Lindsey Williams said, we're going to default on the debt one way or another. And one way of doing that, since we have our own printing press here, we could print money and just print money and just print money and then pay off all the debt that the world's been sitting on, our treasuries, with that newly created US dollars. That won't buy them hardly anything when this time comes in the near future. You could look at that as a default. Because if I give you these pieces of paper that now are worth money and you could buy some significant stuff with it, but then when I go to pay you off what's owed to you, and right before I give it to you, it becomes practically worthless, and then I give it to you, you're saying there saying, whoa, what just happened? I just got the old switcheroo pulled on me. Now I'm sitting here with all these dollars that don't amount to anything. You know, I need massive amounts of dollars to buy anything now. I've been double crossed. But that's still considered a default. So, in my opinion, do I think that they're going to come to a debt agreement to raise the debt ceiling? And yes, it'll be, 11 o'clock, 11th hour before midnight, whatever. They'll come to some stupid agreement. It's not going to matter. As Lindsey Williams said when he was asked, are they going to raise the debt ceiling or are they not? His answer was, it doesn't matter whether they do or don't. The debt cannot and will not be paid off. That's all that matters. And they will default on it sooner or later, and it's going to be sooner, as he said. So, raise the debt ceiling if you want. It doesn't matter. So, that's interesting because this next headline, not really a headline, this was, I don't even remember where I got this from. The US Treasury will not default. No matter what, it will not default, according to this person. Question, what is a default? Answer. In this case, a default would be the failure of the US Treasury to make payments of principal or interest on its debt in a timely manner. In a given month, how much does the Treasury owe as interest on its debt? Roughly about 15 to 20 billion per month. And as you saw last year, it was more than that because it was somewhere around 430 or something billion that we paid in just the interest payment alone. Incredible. Question, how much revenue does the Treasury take in an average month? Roughly about 200 billion. Question, are you saying the Treasury could pay interest on its debt 10 times over or more from monthly income? Yes. Therefore, the likelihood of not paying interest on its debt is pretty much zero. But what about redeeming bonds that come true? Answer, as bonds come due, the Treasury will again use monthly income to pay them off. This would lower the debt owed beneath the so-called debt ceiling. Then the Treasury could turn around and issue debt in that amount up to the debt ceiling. Question, why then do Treasury Secretary Geithner and others in government make such apocalyptic statements about the horrors of default? Answer, I'm afraid Geithner and others in government are doing this, in other words, yelling fire in a crowded theater, and they are doing so for political reasons rather than financial reasons. Now, let's think about that for a minute. Because that sounds like a complete bozo wrote that. We take in 200 billion, Currently, let's just say 20 billion is what we're paying monthly on the interest, not the principal. So let's also think about that for a second. If I have a credit card and I owe $10,000 on it, whatever my interest is, and what he said, 20 times over, so we'll say my interest payment, let's just easy math here, is $1,000. I have to pay $1,000 in interest every month out of that $2,000 or $10,000. Matter of fact, we might as well make it $20,000 just to change the numbers slightly here. So we're paying $1,000 on a $20,000 credit card. I've got it maxed out at $20,000, and I am making the interest payment, which equals $1,000. But how much of the principal plus interest are you paying? That's pretty important too. So why are we only talking about interest in this article? Oh, we only pay 15 to 20 billion in the interest. Well, how much are we paying on principal? And what if the answer is, well, none? We're only paying the interest. Sounds like a problem, wouldn't it? So another thing, how much is collected, tax revenue or whatever, right? How much revenue does the Treasury take in on average in a month? Roughly 200 billion. So the next question was, so we could pay this over 10 times over with the monthly income. Yes, therefore there can't be a default. We have other obligations, you know. I mean, whoever wrote this article, right? You realize there's other obligations that have to be paid with that $200 billion income a month, roughly, that the Treasury gets, right? There's other obligations, massive amounts, as a matter of fact, that we have to use some of that money to, it has to be used for. So let's just hear me out for a second. They say a default won't happen, but Obama has basically just said Social Security might not get paid if we can't come to an agreement, which is interesting because although I said I do think they'll come to an agreement, I just do, because that's how they are. They're not going to let this go. They're going to end up doing something, whether we like it or not. It may be stupid. It may not do anything other than raise the debt ceiling with some fluff in there, and then nothing gets changed. But we now have a 16 or 17 trillion dollar debt instead of 14.3 or whatever. Again, it doesn't really matter. But they're talking, oh, default. US Treasury will not default. Okay. What if they hold true to that because they don't want to, not make that monthly payment of interest and or principal to the whole world, whoever's collecting and holding on to our bonds, such as the Middle East, China, Japan, and quite a few others. Maybe not that level that Japan and China hold. And by the way, the Federal Reserve holds more than China and Japan now. The Federal Reserve is the #1 holder of bonds, treasury notes, whatever, which is the first time in history, from what I understand, as of very recently. They surpassed Japan, and Japan was second place, China was first place. By the end of last year, as a matter of fact, I want to say it was around November, late November, something like that, maybe even early December, headline news, whatever, Federal Reserve is now the #1 purchaser and holder of these treasury bonds. China is now second place. Japan is now third place. Incredible. So if they decide we got to pay off this debt and interest first with that X amount of dollars coming into the Treasury, which he says is 200 billion, and we didn't raise the debt ceiling, let's just say that they can't raise the debt ceiling for whatever reason, and something incredible happens for the first time in American history, and by August 2nd or whatever the deadline is to get this thing passed through, they don't come to an agreement. And that could be the plan, by the way, simply to make it look like Democrat versus Republican, President versus Congress, President versus the Republicans in Congress. If those damn pesky Republicans, those pesky guys, it's their fault. No, it's that pesky Democrats and then their Democratic president, just to keep you fighting on that stupid non-matter when you're going to make it into a matter, even though this is just a game, like two wrestlers pretending to hate each other. They could do that and then say we couldn't come to an agreement. Oh my God. Well, we're going to have to cut spending immediately on certain things. But we got to make sure we don't default because we're America. So we can't default on this debt we owe the world. 14.3 trillion, that interest payment. So what do? How about Oh, I got an idea, as Obama said. We won't make payments to retirees through Social Security. And we'll have to cut Medicaid. We'll have to cut this. We'll have to cut that. Because we won't have the funding we need to pay for all these things. So rather than tell you and me and everyone else and the retirees, we're going to take that money from you, you're not going to get it. We know you've been putting in money your entire life, and your kids before you were putting in money their entire lives too. We're not going to cut that check to you. And by the way, even though we stopped cutting that check to you, Social Security, yeah, we're actually going to still take it out of any of your paychecks today. So anyone watching this video, including a retiree who may have a job and is still getting taxed taken out for man, I lost my train of thought. Social Security. They're gonna still take it out of your check, but they're not gonna pay you. So if that's how this goes down, they're gonna say, "Hey, see, we told you there won't be a U.S. default. U.S. didn't default." No, but you robbed everyone in the United States so that you wouldn't default, including the retirees and the pensions and this and that. That's how they would probably do this before they tell people holding bonds, which are mostly other central banks, other large bank corporation, financial corporations and whatnot, holding these notes. And as you know, they don't lose. They get the money. No matter what happens, the taxpayer always gets left with the empty bag. Therefore, a reasonable hypothesis and conclusion would be you and I get screwed, and our parents or whoever's on retirement get screwed so that we can make sure we pay that debt payment. And then they could fight Democrat versus Republican, Obama versus Palin and Clinton. It doesn't, whatever. Just pick it. Make something up. It doesn't even matter. Wouldn't that be the perfect stalemate? That Obama could say, "Hey, look, guys, I told you I was your guy. For hope and change, I tried. You had to have faith in me. It was those darn pesky Republicans. Shoot, I was working for you, America. Sorry about that." And then when the cameras are off, him and Boner and the rest of them go back. High five. Man, we put on a show today, didn't we, boys? Yes, sir. Let's go have dinner at the taxpayer's expense. You got it. And that's how that will end. So, just want to share that with you. I can't wait to see how this unfolds. In my opinion, I just think they're going to raise the debt ceiling. I really do. Because they don't want to have to face not paying the American taxpayer. Really. I mean, how many people would immediately be in the streets? You'd see a bunch of old retired people doing it. But it's funny because a lot of the older retired people wouldn't dare listen to people like me. I'm crazy out of my mind. This is America that loves them and everything else. So I don't think that's going to happen. They'll probably raise the debt ceiling. It'll be some deal they strike. It's going to be nonsense. It doesn't matter. We're still going to default. End of story. So anyways, that's all I got for you in this video. And I got to do another one real quick. Talk to y'all later.